Hello. Hello, everyone. It says I'm live. I'm gonna confirm. Give me a brief moment. Okay, there I am. Yep, we're here. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas and all of the gamut of holidays. I am looking forward to a much needed break. Much needed. I got some time off of work, so hopefully I'll be working on some new tunes and wrapping up some stuff. Hello. Show some love in the chat if you just got in. I see you. I see some viewers in here. How's everyone doing? How's everyone's Thursday? What are your holiday plans? Oh, we got Heaven Sample. First one in the chat. What's going on? What's going on, buddy? For those that may not know, Heaven Sample, aka Shaq, aka Chris, he drums for Vitesse X. He is the drummer extraordinaire. And he just got hip surgery. So give Chris some love in the chat. Some healing energy. How you feeling, Chris? How's your day been? Hello, Desert Rambler. Hello, Nicholas Pix. Hello, Nicholas. Happy to see you guys. Currently on medical leave from Vitesse X duties. Yes, so Chris is currently on medical leave. We haven't been playing shows in a bit, but as soon as Chris heals up, we're going to be back at it. And we're going to be playing a lot of new stuff. So I've been sending Shaq some new tunes that you guys haven't heard yet, some demos and stuff. I'll let Chris answer this question. Was it your right hip? Did it have anything to do with drumming? I don't think so. And I'm just at this point I'm just letting it all out, but Chris also had surgery on his shoulder earlier this year too. So he's going to be my bionic drummer by the time we get back to playing. And I feel like it's fairly on brand. So yes, we have some time to incubate. I have some time to wrap up some new stuff. New subscriber. Hey, Toniel. Yes, half machine. So I'm going to be using this time not to play any shows until probably spring, I'm thinking. And I just have so much to wrap up. Too much to wrap up. I've been dealing with a lot of just chaos in my brain, writing a quarter of a song and then moving on to the next thing. And I have an entire year's worth of tracks that need to be finished. So this gives me a good deadline, I would say. What's everyone's holiday plans? I'm going to be chilling here for a second in the city, and then I'm going down to North Carolina to see my family. And then, I'm really trying to use this time to work on some music. I have a cover in mind that I've been trying out. This would be my second cover. The first one I did was a couple of years ago. I don't know if anyone listened to my Pinback cover, but I don't know. People seem to like that out on the West Coast. They like the Pinback tribute. So I don't know. It was kind of validating to just try out a cover for the first time, and people seem to like it. So I'm going to try another one. I'm not going to say who. If you guys want to make some guesses, feel free. And if you've been listening to the streams, you might know who I've been listening to this past year, because I haven't been listening to a whole lot, but I have mentioned some names that I've been listening to. So if you can guess the name of the artist I'm trying to do a cover of, maybe I'll give you a little gift or something. So I put out a song a couple weeks ago. For those that aren't aware, I feel like most of you probably are. Not Orbital. That would be cool. That maybe down the road. Yeah. So my song's been out for a couple weeks. I figured I'd hop on the stream today and play some behind the scenes stuff. Talk about the music video a little bit more, because I didn't play the music video for you guys last time. Limp Bizkit cover. That is a no for now. But honestly, I think that needs to happen sometime down the line. Oh, damn. Thank you. You like my pinback cover more than the original? That's a little crazy. I don't deserve that, but that's very kind of you to say. I do feel like when I approach a cover, and honestly, that was the first one I approached ever. So in that situation, I was just listening to that song on my way to work one day, and I felt that I almost it was giving me ideas for what I could add on top of it. So I feel like that song, it's there's a lot of empty space. So it kind of gave way for new ideas to emerge. And I feel like when I approach a cover, I only want to do it if I feel like there's something I could add, my own signature I could add to it. So there's a lot of songs out there that I'm this is fully fleshed out. It's so perfect that it's untouchable. Not to say that the Pinback song isn't perfect in its own way, but it had a lot of empty space that allowed me to insert myself a little bit. So, I feel hopefully I can try that out with this other one, but it's a work in progress right now. So, no Limp Bizkit, not Poison Girlfriend, although I love Poison Girlfriend. She's a really big inspiration of mine. I saw her live last fall. I think it was last fall. Hopefully it hasn't been 2 years already. But yeah, she's incredible. Not Sonic Youth, although honestly, that would be a good one to add to my list too. Sonic Youth was huge for me back late in college. Right when I moved to New York, I was listening to a ton of Sonic Youth. And back then I was really only playing guitar. So it was just a big inspiration for me as a guitar player. Lee Ronaldo was one of my favorite guitar players. And I just like how he kind of didn't really go by the rules of how you're supposed to play guitar. And he did a lot of weird tunings and stuff. So it gave me permission to just play my guitar kind of how I wanted to and break the rules for a while. So yeah, I love Sonic Youth, but no, not doing a cover of that yet. What have I been listening to lately? I mentioned this in my last stream, but this year I feel like I haven't been I've been living under a rock when it comes to what's happening in terms of new producers, and I just feel really out of the loop. And I don't know exactly what that came from. I think I don't know if other people can relate, but I feel the state of the industry right now and the state of streaming and this passive listening experience has really rubbed me the wrong way, and it has kind of tainted the listening experience altogether. And so I kind of, when when I am listening to music, I kind of cling to things that are a bit more familiar or come from a time where things weren't so tainted. So I feel like for the past couple of years, I've just been listening to like, I mean, Orbital's a big one for me, but Future Sounds of London, or Meat Beat Manifesto, like those big beat bands from the 90s. I listen to a lot of that stuff. But yeah, like in terms of newer artists, I haven't been listening to a lot, so I feel like I need some insight currently. Opus 3 always, yeah. Opus 3 is like huge inspiration for me. And another artist I was listening to all summer that maybe some of you would be surprised that I hadn't really listened to a whole lot before, but I'm not going to say the name because that's the name of the artist I'm going to be trying to cover. Unless you guys can guess it. You've been too ADHD to listen to full albums, so you've been listening to individual songs. Yeah, I feel like I've actually been the opposite, where like if I'm going to listen to something, I want to have a full active say in what I'm listening to, so I need to listen to an album. Like I need to have the context and I need to have that storyline and I want to be fully immersed in it. And that's also coming from me as someone who is now, you know, I write albums. So I want to be in that headspace a little bit more. Indie game soundtrack? Oh. Okay. I feel like I was going to say something and then I forgot. I wanted to talk about my song that came out a couple weeks ago. Has everyone listened to it? And I also want to talk about the music video because my last stream was right before the music video came out, so I didn't get to talk about it on the stream last time. And if you guys are interested, if you haven't seen the music video, I can play it for you on the stream tonight. So let me know. It might be good to watch it first to give some context before playing the behind the scenes stuff. Let me know if you want to watch it. What else? What else do I have to say? Who was here last week or 2 weeks ago? I don't want to like be redundant and talk about everything I talked about last time, but it has been a very long year of me not interacting with people, so I have a lot to catch up on. Not my Bloody Valentine, no. But my Bloody Valentine is, you know, one of my biggest inspos. Shaq wants to watch the viddy. You guys want to watch it? Okay, cool. I'll give it a second. I'll wait till it's been 15 minutes. I'll wait for everyone to get here. But how are you guys? I want to hear about you guys too. What are your plans for break? If you have a break. This is like still kind of new for me to have a break since I work a corporate job now. But up until I was doing gig work for most of my life, most of my adult life, and I did not get off really on the holidays. So it's very nice to have some time off, especially to work on some new music. Christmas Fest. Very cool. Is who's playing the Christmas Fest? You bought your nephew Hulk gloves for Christmas. That's dope. I'm sure he's gonna love that. I'm sure he's gonna really try to use that against you. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. If you're down, I'll play the music video so I can talk about it. I'm going to play it. And I really hope, I had my first X mix back after like however many years. Last week, my internet crapped out on me at the very end, which sucks, but I think it's fixed now. So hopefully if I play a big file, it's not going to do the same thing. Cross your fingers. Okay, ready? Go. That was the music video, for those who haven't seen it yet. Yes. So that came out last week or 2 weeks ago. That was shot by just me and my partner Chris. We basically, so this whole summer, I kind of took off of writing music for a few reasons. I'll talk about that down the road. But I also just kind of needed a break. I needed to like kind of just ground myself and spend some time with my family. So I was going upstate because I'm originally from the Hudson Valley in New York. So I was going up almost every weekend. And during that time, Chris and I would just go hike up to the mountains and shoot just pieces of the music video throughout that time. And there was like 2 places in particular we ended up shooting at, both with like really scenic waterfalls, and I had to jump in some really fucking cold water. And one of them, the majority of the shots were shot at, it's like a 3-mile hike or so, and it's kind of like in this spot that most tourists don't know about. So you park at this parking lot and you hike up, and you kind of go off trail, and then there's like these watering holes that are just off the trail. And so we would just chill there. And it was totally isolated, except for like maybe a couple times we had some stragglers pass by and they were like really curious about what we were doing. But it was like a good way to get away from the rangers and stuff because they didn't come through. So yeah, I just jumped in the water, and we had some like makeshift underwater gear that we used for the cameras to submerge them. And it took a lot of weekends to get the shots because the water was so cold. I could only be under there for like 10 minutes max. But I wasn't really rushing the process. I was just like, let's just keep hiking each weekend, and while we hike, we'll just get some shots along the way. And eventually we had enough footage to just compile it together into the music video. So I can show you some behind the scenes stuff, but I'll answer some questions first. Nature is omnipresent in your music videos. What makes you want to put that forward? I think a huge reason is because of where I grew up, and you can see in a few of my music videos, I like to shoot upstate where I'm from. I think like I didn't realize at the time when I was a kid how fortunate I was to be able to kind of grow up just immersed in nature. It was just kind of my reality. I didn't really think much of it. But as I got older, I realized a lot of people didn't have that experience growing up. And I mean, I spent like most of my time as a kid just like out in the woods building forts with my mom and like collecting salamanders and all that stuff. But then like I was also an athlete, and when we would train, we would just be up in the mountains training. So between like running and then cross-country skiing, I did a long post about that on my Instagram earlier this week, but I grew up cross-country skiing too. So I was always in the mountains, and I had just so much time kind of isolated up there. And it was just, it's like the closest thing to a spiritual experience you could really have, because you're just so in touch with this primitive aspect of existence. And I think now that I live in New York City, I'm personally craving that all the time. And so I think with my music, I'm always trying to kind of access that space again in my mind. And then when I approach the visuals, I think that I want to be as aligned with that as possible. So the best place for me to ultimately shoot this stuff is at the place where it all started. And I also feel it's kind of hard being behind the camera for me. It wasn't like a normal, natural thing for me at first when I started Vitesse. It's getting a bit more, I do it enough where it doesn't feel too crazy anymore. But I think being in a space that feels really comfortable and familiar to me makes it a lot easier for me to be behind the camera, or in front of the camera rather. So that I would say is like the gist of it. And so this music video was shot in my hometown. And then also, if you're familiar with my song Us Ephemeral, which was like one of my first, that came out with my first record, that was also shot up in my hometown as well. And it's like there's really no place that I know that's as pretty as where I grew up. At least like in the Northeast. It really is so beautiful. So I really like sharing that with people, as long as the tourists don't completely fuck it all up. Did I do that thing where I sped up the song and then slow-mo the footage? Yes. That's a little trick. I don't even know if it's a trick because it's done so often in music videos. But yeah, we do a lot of shooting where I play the song sped up, and also I'll sing it really fast, which is very hard to do. So I'll sing it like twice the speed, and then when I put it into Premiere or DaVinci, I'm using now for editing, I switched over to DaVinci, but then I'll slow down the footage half time, and so I'll be singing along to the song at its normal BPM, but I'm in slow-mo. So that's what I do with a lot of my music videos. It just makes sense for the vibe for me. And yeah, that like a lot of the footage in general is just in slow motion. If I were to, it makes it better to have more footage available. Not that that's like my reason for doing it, but it does like, you get twice as much footage when you slow it down by 50. So I have a lot of slow-mo footage in this music video. Okay. Rascalon says, I want to stop by and acknowledge I tried to be here. Oh, I'm sorry, Rascalon. Well, thanks for popping in. The first time you saw that technique was the Lens Steal My Sunshine video. I didn't realize that he did that. That's cool. I gotta check that out now. So yeah, there was a lot of footage that didn't make the cut. Typically when we shoot, there's an absurd amount of footage that doesn't get used. So I think at a certain point, I do want to like compile all of that excess stuff and show it at some point. But yeah, it's a ton of footage, and we end up having to spend a lot of money just storing all of it because, either for future use or whatever. But yeah, there's a ton of footage. So I can show you a little bit of BTS stuff. I didn't have time to go through a ton of it, but like you can kind of see where we shot and how I actually don't look like I know how to swim. It looks so like soft and angelic when you're watching the music video, but that's cutting out all the parts where I'm choking on water and I can't even like submerge myself fully because it's so cold. So I cut that part out. Let's see. So there's one spot that I used to go. So this spot I used to go to in the summers with my friends all the time. And there's like a little cliff jumping spot that we go into the water. And then there's actually like these like natural water slides because the rocks underneath the water are so eroded. It's super smooth. So this is what me and my friends would do in the summers. We just go up into the mountains and like jump in the water and slide down the natural water slides. And it was super cool. So we shot a little bit here. So this is Peterskill Falls is the name of it. I'm trying to find it. Give me a sec. Falls vid. Swimming vid? Okay. This one. Yes. Okay.
I can actually see, so go.
Oh wait, this is the wrong one. This is the one at Peterskill. The thing with this spot though is there's rangers walking around all the time. So we got told to stop filming at a certain point. You're really only supposed to be on like very specific trails, and they're kind of like sticklers about it. So we had to do this as secretly as we could, but we got found out at a certain point. So yeah, most of the time we're shooting, Chris and I are just bickering back and forth. I'm more so bickering. Chris is just trying to direct, and I'm like telling him I'm cold and shit. But
I can see everything that I'm shooting.
It was kind of hard for him though, because he had this underwater contraption, this like $30 thing, and he was putting the Panasonic camera, which is like this handheld camera. He was putting that in it, and like if you held it the wrong way, the recording would stop. It wasn't built for it, so he had to be very mindful of how he's holding the camera and everything.
Perfectly. So if you jump in now, I can
He had to push it up to the front of the screen. It was a whole thing. Yeah. See how fast I jump in and jump out? This is not poised. The water is very cold. This was in summer, but the water is very cold.
So this is great.
So like that's a little shot that I used for a split second, but I slowed it down and then I was able to use it. What's Chris's attire? He's wearing his just basketball shorts or whatever. Nothing crazy. You visited my hometown this past summer. Wow. One of your favorite spots is the bike trail. Yeah. Yeah, the rail trail goes right by my house, and they've expanded it over the years, but that's where I used to run on the rail trail as a kid all the time. No, honestly, bringing goggles would have not been the worst idea looking back. That probably would have been smart. So yeah, that was Peterskill. That spot's really cool, but because it's in a pretty exposed area, so we also had like kids walking by, and there was like families kind of like peering in, like, what are these motherfuckers doing? So, and then at a certain point, the rangers found us, and they were like, you can't film here. You can't be off the trail or whatever. So then there's a spot that's like way further out that the tourists don't know about. And that's where we ended up shooting most of the other footage. But I did use a lot from this first shoot, because the sun was just peering in so nicely and making these really beautiful lines in the water and everything. So I did end up using a lot from that. Wait, did I miss some questions? I feel like I missed some questions. The dance EP. No updates yet. But I think I'm using the X Mix that I'm starting up again. I'm gonna use that to kind of test out some stuff and see what I need to fix with some of the songs. Just just on the mixing side of things, to see how they measure up to the other dance tracks I'm using. But I'm planning on wrapping the dance EP up this year. Okay. The other video, it's kind of the same thing, but this is in the other spot. This spot was really isolated. There was no one around. Like, we would just chill out here for hours. But we had to lug all of the camera gear up here. So
you're a little too close to the surface. Try to get lower if you can, and just try to do interesting things under the water. I can actually see, so go.
Just a quick little video. But yeah, I have some phone video of where it was at. So this is like the start of the trail. After you leave the parking lot, there's just, you can't really see it, but when there's a lot of rain, that turns into a waterfall. And then there's these steps to the left that just go straight up, these winding steps that look like they're from like Lord of the Rings or something. And they go all the way to the top of that water, where the waterfall is. And then the trail just leads up further. So then the top of the waterfall is here. That's what it looks like from above. So some of the shots in the music video were done here. Some of those close-up blue shots we did here. But yeah, it was a great spot to shoot. there was just a lot of room to experiment. There weren't a lot of people around. Oh yeah, I have some photos. Yeah, so like that's the top of the waterfall. That's where we shot the blue video. That's Chris with his camera. That's me shooting with Panasonic. So I had the Panasonic in my hand a lot, just kind of shooting into the sun and stuff and getting like those winding shots. But yeah, it's not an easy thing doing this with just two people to get the lighting right. And then there's just like a lot of minor little roadblocks that get in the way that you don't really think about. We had an issue with that blue shot. Actually, we did a bunch of shots of it, but the one that I liked, there were these scan lines that got baked into my skin in the video, and so I had to do all this post-production work to get these scan lines out, and that took me like 2 weeks. Do not recommend. Oh, Minnewaska. Yeah, it's past Minnewaska. So it's technically, I don't know if it's technically a part of Minnewaska State Park, but it's right past Minnewaska State Park. And it's a lesser known area, but it's my favorite. Don't tell everyone though. So yeah, that's the majority of behind the scenes I have right now. Eventually I want to compile everything into, something that you guys can watch and access at another time, because we really do have so much footage. But yeah, I mean, this stuff takes a lot of time, especially when it's two people. I'm not doing a whole film crew with this stuff. There's, I think if you've ever, shot a music video for your project or anything, it's a lot of money oftentimes, and you are often working with people you don't know super well, and so you really have to trust their vision on things. And most musicians I've talked to that have paid for music videos in the past, it's a hit or a miss, and so it's kind of a gamble whether it's going to work or not, and that's a lot of money to put into something that you don't even know is gonna really hit the mark. So Chris and I kind of realized that we needed to start putting it into our own hands, and Chris is really big into photography and videography, so it works out. I'm very lucky for that. But yeah, and then I did all the editing for the music video and the coloring and everything. So that's kind of how we split up the tasks. He does most of the shooting, and then I'll do all the editing side of things. And yeah, it's very time consuming. But I like having the creative control because I can get things really close to how I want it. And I'm also learning a lot too. So it's like every time that we do this, I feel like we're improving and we're learning about, just more things that we need to familiarize ourselves with. And yeah, so I mean, it's like a whole new skill set. I feel like with music production, I'm at a certain point in my life, and where I feel pretty confident with certain things. And then with video stuff, I feel like I'm still very much at the beginning of certain things, but I'm learning really fast. So it's just nice to have creative control. And when all of the vision is coming from one person, I feel like there's a cohesion there. So it's been nice being able to do that. And we also have been shooting for other stuff in the future. So we already have some footage for a couple songs coming up in the future. I just need to edit it and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna continue to do this. It's kind of like where I'm having almost the most fun these days, because it's collaborative. And a lot of times when I'm making music in my studio, it can be very isolating, and it feels like in certain ways like you're not having a full experience. because it's not being shared with anyone. So I do like having a new outlet where I can have like a shared collaborative artistic experience. And it's really fun when you do it on your own terms. So like for me, I'm like, oh, I can go upstate, I can see my family, I can go for a hike, and then while I'm doing all this stuff, I can shoot a music video. So it's nice being able to kind of do it in a way that creates balance in my life, because it's otherwise I feel like, you know, that's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of sacrifice that you're putting in where, you know, you're not doing other things that you love to do. So I'm trying to fit it all into one thing with these music videos. So for me, I'm like, I just really, when I shoot a music video, I like to travel and I like to go to like a scenic place and be able to experience something while I'm doing it and like make a memory that is then, right, like I'm making a memory and then I'm also shooting a music video. So now I have like a full recording of that memory that I've made. So it's kind of cute. So that's been a new thing, a new fun thing. But yeah. What else? I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's interesting when you're putting this much time into a single song. It's like it's a lot of work and a lot of time, and you do have to kind of choose like, oh, this is time I could be working on my album, but now I'm working on a music video. But I think I'm starting to realize that like limiting yourself in saying like, I'm just a musician or I'm just this, it's like I just think that living as an artist is the best way to operate. And so it shouldn't just be confined to one art form where you're expressing yourself. So I do like having this new way of like, you know, just expressing myself through other mediums, even if it takes time away from working on music. Oh, we're getting into tech talk over here. Yeah, we used a lot of different cameras. So we have a Handycam that a lot of the shots were shot on. And that was kind of the look I was going for. I wanted it to feel like very, what's the word? Just like very personal. Like you're out with your friends or something and it's not like staged. It's just, you know, it's very like documenting just the moment. So the Handycams are really good for that. And it's like, you know, it's nostalgic. It like reminds you of the early 2000s or the 90s. So I like it for that. But then we typically have been pairing it with like a more hot, like a pro camera to get more of like the close-up shots and stuff. And so that's been kind of the method is gaining that nostalgia and that like closeness, that intimacy through the older types of cameras, but then merging that with the pro camera look. Yes. So yeah, that's the music video. I don't know what else to say about it. It was like a really fun time to just like go out all summer and just I mean, I wouldn't say getting into the water was that fun. The water part was really, really cold. And I think the last time I went into the water, I spent the entire walk back like trying to get blood back into my fingers because I was so cold. But it was worth it. It was worth it. I feel like every time I'm doing a music video, I'm always uncomfortable in some way. And that's what I'm realizing. I think that's inevitable at this point. I was wondering why it keeps happening where like every time I shoot a music video, I'm really, really cold, or there's something where I'm like, I'm facing the elements in some way, but I'm realizing now like it's kind of this unconscious way of trying to like show a level of vulnerability, I guess. Like if I wasn't embracing the elements, I wouldn't be showing a super vulnerable side of myself. I wouldn't be showing a very human side of myself. So I think in having to like feel these feelings that I don't really enjoy, you get to see a very human side of me. So I think that's why it keeps happening. I think so. But I would love to shoot a music video where I'm comfortable the whole time. That would be nice. But yes, so updates from this year. I have like I said before, I have a lot of songs that are like a quarter of the way done. And my plan is to wrap a lot of stuff up this year. The dance EP is one of those things. So my X mix last week, I played a little bit of it. I teased a little bit of a new dance track. So I'm kind of leaning into like the progressive house sound, which might be, I don't know if it like sounds on brand for me or whatever, but that's kind of the style of dance music I listen to more often than not. So a lot of that stuff on that EP will probably fall into that genre. Yeah, we'll see what happens with it. It's still kind of in the early stages, but I just think that it's nice to have kind of different projects that you're working on always at the same time, so that you can kind of pivot if you need to. When you have an idea and it's like, oh, this doesn't work for the record, you can always throw it to a different thing. So that's what's been happening for me. Now I kind of have 3 albums that I'm working on simultaneously for that reason. But yeah, so I still have one record that I basically started years ago that part of me feels like maybe it'll never see the light of day. I really hope it does. I really hope to God it does. But it seems to be the album that I pivot off of. So it's like I'm working on it and then I get an idea that's kind of reactionary to that album. And then a whole new concept emerges from that. So that's what happened the last time I put when I put out This Infinite. This Infinite was not supposed to come into existence, but because I was working on the other record, and it was very dark and kind of like it was pretty heavy, and so I would need days where I worked on music that was a little bit lighter, and a little bit more of like an escape from that. And then all of a sudden I had this whole new record, and that became This Infinite. So yeah, hopefully that original record gets finished at some point. But my Jazz Master, yeah, I showed this last week. This is my new baby. I've been playing on Mexican Jaguar for over a decade now, and I love it to death, but it was time for an upgrade for me. So I've been playing on it. I haven't recorded really much on it yet. Actually, so the cover that I'm working on, I started using it for that. So yes, I guess I have been recording with it, and it sounds very nice. It sounds nice without it even being plugged in. That's when you know it's a good guitar. It's super resonant without it being plugged into anything. So yeah, I've been playing on it a bit. It's very, very pretty. I can show you all close up. I already showed you on the last stream, but in case you haven't seen. There it is. Very nice. And my Jaguar is red, so I think it was time for a blue era. But yeah, this is my birthday gift. This is the nicest birthday gifts by far I've ever gotten. So, very lucky, very fortunate. And in other news, I have this Infinite. Speaking of this Infinite, I have this Infinite. We're back. We got new pressings of this Infinite. And I brought this down so I could open it in front of you and show you the new variant. So I'll do that right now. You have to give me a second, though. Luckily, my nail's kind of long, so this might work. Okay, step one. Step one complete. Moment of truth. Ta-da! There it is. That's the new variant. It's the blue. It's called Blue Splatter. It's the Blue Splatter. It looks like clouds. It's very pretty. Yeah, so we got this Infinite back in the shop, which is very exciting. It had been sold out for a while. So if you wanted to get your hands on some vinyl, we have it. We have it now in the music website shop. So I'm very excited about that. And we still got other stuff. We've got CDs. CDs have been selling a lot lately. Which it doesn't really come as a surprise to me, to be honest. I think people are really seeking some tangible aspect to their music again, and CDs seem to be a good way of doing that. They're don't take as much space, not as expensive. So we're seeing CDs selling pretty strongly these days. I actually just bought an iPod Nano a couple of weeks ago. I haven't gotten it in the mail yet, but because I was talking about this earlier, how I feel like the passive listening experience is just kind of staining the entirety of my listening experience. So I got an iPod Nano. I was like, I'm over this shit. The thing is, I'm so used to buying and downloading music from Bandcamp for my DJ sets anyway. So I'm like, this isn't really going to be a whole lot different. And I just miss it. Like I did grow up in the 90s, and by the time I was becoming obsessive about music, it was kind of at the peak of that internet culture, where between like LimeWire, obviously, I did my fair share of that in the day. But then by the time I was in college, I was just like a glutton for music, and I just wanted to get my hands on vinyl and CDs, and I had such an active say in my own listening experience, and it was so fun to like discover new underground artists by spending hours scouring some random blog, and it felt like it became yours. It was like, this is mine and no one else's. And it's true, like that experience that I had was mine and no one else's, and that's what made it so special in a way, and created a whole memory around the process of finding and discovering music. Or there's a whole memory around going to the record store in town and buying a Fugazi record and like talking to the record store owner, and like there's an experience around every single one of these moments where I bought music or I discovered it. And now it's so passive. It's just given to us. And it feels wrong. It just feels wrong. It doesn't feel right for me. So I think that I'm going to have a lot more fun listening to music again now that I have, hopefully with my Nano when I get it. But I think I've been hearing, someone said in my Discord that people online are starting to make a pact that they're going to buy iPods in 2026 and listen to music on there. And I think that's great. Like, I think that we have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for. I just think that our dopamine brains override our executive functioning faster than we realize. And so it's kind of, we just really need to take proactive steps to just giving ourselves experiences again and having intimate experiences with the things we love, and not like having these big tech overlords dictate that for us. So, you know, I'm not really one to just be constantly like complaining about, I mean, I do actually behind the scenes, but not online. I'm not online like complaining about like Spotify and all this stuff very openly, but behind the scenes, because I just want to find solutions. I feel like, I think, like I said, I just think we have a lot more power than we're waiting. We're waiting on these billionaires to change things for us. And we just, at this point, really just need to do it for ourselves. So if that means reverting back to how things were back in the day, maybe, you know, that might not seem progressive to people, but for me right now, it feels like the best move is to actually go backwards when it comes to technology. And yeah, I mean, I find that even with my own music that I produce, I'm kind of, there's always, I have one foot in the past and one foot in the future. And so there's just so much that I miss about the past when it comes to music. And so I'm always kind of tapping into that with the music I write. And I think it only makes sense to do that with the music I listen to as well and how I consume it. So that's my plan for this year. And I really hope that it's going to like get me excited about music again. Not to say that I'm not excited about music, but I think we're all feeling a little bit disenchanted with how things are being run right now. And there's something to be said when something is so oversaturated, it makes it lose value. And so unfortunately, we have in this one place that holds music that has, you know, some people will do what I do. They spend months working on a song, working on their music videos, putting their heart and soul into these things. They create experiences around it. There's so much meaning. Their entire lives are intertwined with this art that they're making. And they put it on a platform, and that music with so much depth, that art with so much depth, is sitting in the same place that some AI sop is sitting on. They're in the same place. That doesn't happen everywhere. You don't see that with every type of art form, but specifically with music, we're seeing that. And so it's creating this false sense that music that has so much depth is of the same value as the slop. And I think that we need to be consuming it elsewhere for that reason. So baby steps, I think if we all start being more proactive about how we're consuming, that can make one of the biggest impacts. And I don't think like everyone has the means to go out and buy a vinyl record, but I think we all can, you know, there's always ways we can be chipping away. And yeah, it's up to us at this point. So iPod Nano it is for me. And I'll report back. I'll let you know how it goes. I know. And the funny thing is when you do go back into, do go back to older technology, you will face some of the inconveniences of that older technology. So there is the reality of that. But supply is supposed to meet demand. I don't think that's happening these days, but it's supposed to. So if we demand better, hopefully things will change. While we're at it, fuck Netflix. Yeah, I mean, all the streaming platforms, they're all going to shit right now. Okay, let me catch up. Hell yeah. Yeah, there's nothing better than getting a physical copy. It's been years since I used to shop at record stores, but that was, I have memories. Like, I remember where I was when I bought each record that I ever had. Like, that makes you hear the music differently. When you have built an experience around, like, where you bought it, who you were listening to it with, like, all these little details, that makes you hear the song differently. It makes you hear the album differently because it feels like it's a part of you in a way, a lot more. And when you don't build those experiences, I think the music that we listen to now can feel almost more disposable for that reason. And that's not fair. That's not fair to the artist. Did I buy the iPod because I'm afraid of all the AI generated TikTok bangers? Yeah, there's a lot of bangers out there. But I would say, I kind of already said it. I don't even think it's like, I'm not trying to like do this like revolutionary act in buying the iPod. It more stems from like, I realized that I just have not been listening to music. And I think Spotify used to be my main platform for listening to music for a very long time. And I think now that it feels like I have a moral dilemma being on that platform. I genuinely have a moral dilemma being on there. How can I enjoy that experience? How can I listen to something and when I feel like I'm doing something wrong? Like, so, and I mean, the same could be said for most other platforms, although Spotify's notoriously, it's the worst out of all of them, in terms of like royalty payouts and how they're just kind of like letting AI slop run rampant. But yeah, this first and foremost is just for me to kind of tap back into just reminding myself of like why I love music and to get kind of back in that state that I was at when I was 15 years old listening to my iPod. I just want to get back to that again. And having scarcity, that's a big thing. Having scarcity, giving yourself scarcity, and only having a certain amount of artists in songs and albums on this device means you're going to cherish it a little bit more. That's just how the mind works. We value things more when we feel that it's not always at our disposal. So I'm forcing scarcity into my life a bit more. You hate how new albums don't feel like a proper release like they used to. Yeah. And then that also just has to do with like an attention span issue now. I think a majority of the population is very, very like dopamine depleted. It's the second we see something, we're on to the next thing. And there used to be time to kind of like let things marinate and build those experiences, build those memories with what we're consuming. And it's like it's not really given a chance so much anymore because you can just move on to the next thing. So yeah, I think I would recommend for anyone, because I'm recommending it to myself right now, to like create more empty space in your life, create more scarcity. You know, I think we now have the paradox of choice in our lives constantly. There's just so much to choose from. So yeah, I think we owe it to artists to just, you know, limit ourselves a bit more. Spend time with fewer things. But when you do spend the time with those things, you'll grow more of an attachment to it. You'll grow a relationship with it, rather than on a streaming platform where it's just you're just swiping, or it's just running in the background, really. So yeah. What else do I have to say? I'm drinking some Topo Chico tonight. I have not had alcohol in about a year. That's some news. That's an update. So yeah, this year has been a full detox for me. What am I going to load up my iPod with? That's like the ultimate question. I don't know yet. I do think I want to start listening to some new stuff. I want to listen to some new artists, but in a way where I can really be engaged with it. So I'll probably have some cool albums that came out this past year. I'm a big James K fan, so I'll probably have her new record on there. You know, some of just the classics that I mentioned before. Those, you know, some 90s rave type shit. And I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's going to be an assortment. It's gonna be hard to pick and choose. But there's this artist I really love. She's more of like a dance producer, DJ, but she has a side project called Trick Pony. And it's very like dubby, trip hop type shit. And I already bought the album on Bandcamp, but it just was released yesterday, so I gotta listen to that. So that'll be on there. That's just really good. Sick. You saw James K open for Night Tapes. That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen James K a few times. I saw her in the woods. There's this rave I used to go to every year up in the woods upstate, and she played a couple songs off this new record up in the woods, and it was the middle of the night. It was just so fucking vibey. I have some really good videos of that. But yeah, she's incredible. Heaven Sample says, we gotta get rid of DAWs and make people record in tape machines again and see how many musicians are still making music. Yeah, it could be a good litmus test. It could be. I'm pretty in the box myself, but you know, I can handle it. I could do it. I've been wanting for years to like have a side project where it's just all like modular outboard gear. But you know, I have so many options when I'm using Ableton. So many options with my VSTs. So it's a bit tempting when I have that. But yeah, I do want to have a side project at some point where I'm more limited, like I was saying. There's when I have limited options to see how my creativity changes from that. But I have noticed, I've been talking about this, I have noticed that on social media, the artists that I feel like are taking off these days it's a lot of what they're doing is recording themselves actually just playing their instruments. It's like basically like you're going to a show, but it's just a quick, 9-second video of them playing. But I think that because there is so much that to consume online, I think that the listener or the consumer, whatever you want to call them, they want to have some indication that like this artist really knows what they're doing. Because I don't think that people are looking for the illusion so much anymore. Everyone knows how the illusion can be created. Everyone knows how, you can create a brand and an idea. So now people want to see like, who is the person behind that? And can they actually play their instruments? And so I'm noticing that the artists that seem to be taking off more are not the ones that are kind of hiding behind some illusion, some character. They're just out there performing and just doing their thing. And I think that that's one positive thing in a way I'm noticing. So that's one positive shift is like, I think that people are really, it's almost like real artistry is becoming novel. So the average listener they might not even consciously be aware of it, but like that's what's becoming more impressive over the cool photo or, the aesthetic. It's more about, are you an artist? Are you truly like what you say you are? That's just a pattern I've noticed. I could be wrong. That's what my algo tells me. You love how accessible making music has become, but you think that it's also a big culprit for how music has started to feel less special. Yeah, for sure. That's something I'm grappling with too, because I feel like anyone can be an artist now, and that should be great. Like that should be an amazing thing. And it is. Doesn't matter how good or, how new you are to it, how long you've been doing it. I think we all, like, it's our God-given right to be able to express ourselves. And now there's less gatekeeping. And so I think that is a threat to the ego of an artist that is trying to maybe climb a ladder, and be bigger and better than their counterparts. I think that threatens artists like that. But I think beyond that, there's just a general threat to the livelihoods of artists. Because everyone can do it, now it's become, I think my concern is more about people being able to make money off their art and just, have a career off of creating. Because, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone should be able to do it. But there should be, gatekeeping can be important to basically challenge the listener and create a little bit of a rule or a structure around like who's deserving of making it their livelihoods, if that makes sense. Because I think it takes someone who's been in this industry a really long time and maybe has some understanding of music theory themselves and a breadth of knowledge of like the history of music. And there needs to be voices like that to say, okay, this person is of a different caliber than the rest for these reasons. And therefore, this is someone that deserves your attention and deserves to be able to do this as their full-time career. So I do think like gatekeeping can be important for that. because otherwise it does become very democratic, if you will. And then you have the ape brain of the average consumer taking over. So then you have, some kid who just started producing in their bedroom 5 weeks ago, but he's making really cool videos. And now everyone's liking that shit. And now this kid, because of these, these reasons beyond the art, he's able to make a living because it's just hitting that ape brain. And that's why I just think there needs to be someone there to be like a buffer and challenge the listener to think beyond their ape brain. And we don't have a lot of that now because of TikTok. I feel like I'm rambling and don't totally make sense, but like, that's where I'm at. If someone wants to reiterate what I'm saying in a more condensed way, please try. But at the same time, yeah, money and music should have never gone together. They should have just never been. It always gets messy. It always gets messy. This industry was built on exploitation from the very beginning, so it's never going to be fair. It's never going to be artist first for that reason. I'm not saying never's not the right word, but it hasn't been up until this point. So it really is our job to like try. I mean, if we could get policies in place, that would be great, but there aren't policies protecting artists these days at all. They're protecting shareholders. So, I don't know. I'm definitely rambling. I don't know if I make sense at all. I make sense to myself, but I probably don't make sense to you. The origin of the name Vitesse X. So I've said this one before. Sorry if I'm repeating myself a million times. I had a radio show. Give me a second. I had a radio show years ago at this spot called Newtown Radio. And at that time I was listening to like a lot of like dark wave style music. So I was listening to like Maria Davidson was like one of my favorite artists at that time. And I decided to name my radio show after a song of hers called Excess de Vitesse. And then years went by, and then I was starting up this project, and I really liked the name. I've always liked the name Vitesse. It means speed in French. So I just like that name a lot. Or I like that word. And so I was thinking about Excess de Vitesse, but that was very wordy. So then I get condensed down to Vitesse X. That's the gist of it. But then also like having the X at the end of the name, it was kind of alluding to other artists from that era too. I was listening to this artist, Gina X. Shaq knows. Shaq likes Gina X. But Gina X was really cool too. I really fucked with her. So it was just kind of like a nod to that music that I was listening to at the time in a way. But also I just really love the word Vitesse. Now my music is nothing like that stuff. So it's kind of funny that it got adapted in that way. But that's where it started. It's a French word. French people get very excited when they find out about my music because, I don't have some dumb American name. What else can I update you about? You guys met Yoda last week or 2 weeks ago, right? Yoda is my new dog that I found on the side of the road. And she's spunky. She's a spunky little Chihuahua girl. She didn't like being on the stream. I tried, and she got hair everywhere. So I can't bring her back on because she got hair all over my microphone. But she's a cool girl. What else happened this year? Well, I had a rat infestation issue in my apartment, and it finally got resolved recently, I would say in the past 4 or 5 months. So no more rats in my basement. I was on the verge of leaving New York altogether. I could have sued the landlord because it was that bad, but I stuck it out, and I'm here. I'm still here, and no more rats. So I can actually be in my studio without hearing the screeches. It was pretty violent. It was pretty violent because they would set out the rat traps, so I would have to hear them dying in the walls. That was really not good. But that era is over. It's finally over. It gave me a lot of motivation when I was writing This Infinite, because I needed to escape my environment so badly. It was so abysmal. And I wrote an album that's basically centered around my need to escape. It's like a prison record. We'll just put it that way. Yeah, it was an ongoing issue for years. So yeah, it did take some time. I'm glad it sorted out too. You know, there's always the chance it could happen again because I live in New York. But so far so good. I watch movies. I've been watching a lot more TV this year. That's a change. If you had asked me a year ago, I would have said, I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. If I have free time, I just produce. But now I'm actually trying to enjoy myself a little bit more. So I've been watching a lot of movies this year. Yeah. I was never a film buff. I felt that I didn't belong in that world because whenever I was around someone who was, I immediately felt scoffed at. So I kind of just didn't really get into film for a lot of my life. And now I realize how much I was missing. So I've been trying to watch classics that I never had watched in the past. And also, so because Chris and I have been shooting music videos and learning so much about, the act of creating a music video and editing and color grading and all those things, lighting for forever. Now when I watch movies, I'm a lot more engaged with just the production aspects of it. And it's pretty mind blowing what goes into it. It's pretty unreal. You thought I was Canadian? I mean, I'm from the Hudson Valley. That's 6 hours away? I feel Canadian in my heart. I feel Canadian in my soul, honestly. I've spent some time in Montreal, and I love Montreal, and I love the music scene for Montreal. It's like a renaissance out there. It's kind of insane how many incredible artists come out there. I mean, Drake is one of them. No, I'm just kidding. I fucking hate Drake. But yeah, no, a really good music scene. Just very vibey, down to earth people. And I have a theory that people from Montreal make such good music because it gets so absurdly cold in the winter times that they can't leave their apartments. And so there's just no room for distraction. They can just spend all that time incubating and working on their art. And I've actually talked about this with some Montreal people, and they agree with me. So now it's not just theory, it's fact. But yeah, my friend TDJ, she's from that area, and she's incredible. She's a great musician. Yeah, cool. A really cool dance community out there. But yeah, I'm not Canadian. I'm from the Hudson Valley. I say upstate, but it's not really upstate to an upstater. It's like South Central New York. I do have a Discord server. Yeah, come join. I've been a little bit more active on it again. Sometimes when I'm all caffeinated, I'll just ramble about something. So, you might catch me in the moment. But yeah, if Chris is in the chat and he wants to give a link to my Discord, that'd be cool. Let me know if you can do that. If not, maybe I'll make like a post on my socials about joining my Discord, because I haven't really done that in a while. I am watching Pluribus. What do you guys think about Pluribus? I really like it. I am like a huge Vince Gilligan fan. I watched Breaking Bad twice. I watched Better Call Saul. So I'm a really big fan. And I really like Pluribus so far. Yeah, I just think it's like an amazing social commentary. It feels incredibly reflective of what's happening right now, with the dawn of AI and algorithms and all that stuff. But yeah, the shots in that show are just really beautiful too. Most film nerds are pretentious tools. I mean, yeah, I kind of agree. I wish that wasn't true, but I just never felt welcomed. My parents aren't like the most cultured people. They're just like, my mom's a great artist. But like they're both, my mom was an art teacher, my dad's a science teacher, and then they're athletes. And so I just grew up in kind of this like, classic kind of like white suburban household, and like we just kind of watched what was on TV. And so then I got to college and I was like really into music. That was something I was a bit more cultured on, just from like finding a few people in my school that cared. But like when it came to film, I didn't know shit. I hadn't watched any classic films by the time I got to college. And then I was surrounded by these men who were very quick to, scoff at me and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not going to give you a list of things to watch. I'm just going to make fun of you for not knowing these things, but I'm not going to even give you advice about what to watch. That was kind of the vibe. So I didn't feel welcomed, but now I'm having, a revival. I'm getting really excited about film for the first time, honestly. So please give me recommendations. Please. I really love what's coming out of South Korea. I mean, I guess they've been known for a while for like having incredible, just an incredible film industry out there. But I've watched some really great films from out there. There was one movie I watched recently called Burning that was really good. And then I saw Old Boy for the first time. That shit was a little, the shots in that film are insane, but the ending was a little, perverse. Well, I'm glad you couldn't agree with me, Nicholas. But if you have recommendations, please. Honestly, I take it as a compliment that you had me in the Montreal EDM scene. I would rather exist there than pretty much anywhere. So you can just live that life for me. Yeah, finish Better Call Saul. Definitely do that. That was such a great show. Chris is saying I never got to experience MTV, and that's kind of true. Yeah. In my household, I mean, we had access to MTV, but for whatever reason, I never watched MTV. So like, it's it's interesting because when I'm surrounded by musicians all the time, and they have all these visual reference points because they grew up watching MTV, and they were so influenced by the music videos of that time period. And it's only recently that I've watched any of the classic music videos too. And I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like I've missed some major reference points, but at the same time, I don't feel like I have this feeling like maybe that will help me not be what's the word? Like because I don't have those reference points, it will help me like almost come up with more unique concepts, because I'm not trying to allude to that. Because I do think it's like very normal for an artist to want to kind of allude to something from the past. I do that with my music more so. So because I have no reference point whatsoever, I'm kind of just like going with whatever pops into my head and like what's ever kind of just like an immediate influence from my environment more so. I don't know. That's just a thought. But I did miss out. I missed out for sure. The Double Life of Veronica. Cool. Is that also from South Korea, or is that just a good movie that I should watch? But I will add that to my list. So I did actually watch MTV probably the most when I was in daycare, because I went to this really like demented daycare that was down the road from my parents, and like it was this woman who her mother lived in like the house in the back, and she smoked like 10 packs a day, so like the daycare always reeked of cigarettes. And this woman's daughter and son were like, I think at the time they were teenagers, and they were like both very like rebellious teens. And so her son, I remember first seeing the Nirvana album cover because her son had I was crawling on his floor. He had like this waterbed, and I was crawling on his floor, and I have this memory of like looking down and seeing the Nirvana baby on the album cover and being like, whoa. And then another one of my like earliest memories is being at that daycare, and I was looking up at the TV, and they had MTV on, and I remember Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares was on the TV, and I just remember like my mouth was like wide open, just staring and being like, I always say it was like, it like brought me into like conscious awareness, just seeing her crying on the TV screen. It was like such like a profound visual experience for me as a child. So I did like have memories of MTV, but like when I was like a little child. But it was still kind of formative. And I do think maybe I'm like I feel like by the time I was in middle school, high school, it was like more reality TV at that point. So maybe I did just kind of miss the peak of MTV. Oh yeah, David Lynch. I mean, I mentioned this in my Instagram. Not that everyone goes on Instagram. But Memori was in many ways inspired by David Lynch. There's a lot of layers to that song, but basically I can talk about it again because I don't know who was here last time, but so I kind of like was on and off the past couple years, kind of going through some mental health shit. I'm kind of always going through mental health shit, so that's not really new, but I was going through a pretty big rut. Even when I was writing This Infinite, if I wasn't writing the album was a huge distraction for me. It was like the only thing kind of getting me through my circumstances at that point in time. So like when I wasn't working on the record, It was kind of just like, doing a lot of bed rotting bullshit. And one thing that was getting me through it really was like, I don't know how I stumbled on it, but I started watching these videos about near-death experiences. And I got so invested in it. I was like, what, for months, just months on end, listening to these stories of people talking about their experiences of dying and going to another realm. And before that period, was pretty much like full-blown materialist, didn't really, always had an open mind, but was kind of like, if you can't prove it through science, through the scientific method, it's not something I believe. But the parallels between all these stories were just pretty unreal, and it just really shook the foundation of my own reality. And so a lot had changed for me, I would say, on a spiritual level. And then I wrote Memori. I wrote like sort of the structure to the song. I didn't have lyrics or anything, but I wrote Memori. And then last year, I think around this time, David Lynch passed away. And I really was inspired by David Lynch more so through, I mean, I loved his movies. I watched Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks. But I also I really, really align with him as just a creative person, and his ethos, his perspective on art and existence. I just really love him as a human being, beyond him as like a filmmaker and all of that. I could just sit and listen to him talk all day. And I did get kind of into transcendental meditation years ago. I went to like an intro class, and so I was watching videos of him talking about transcendental meditation at the time. But yeah, so David Lynch passed away, and it really affected me, because I just feel like there's not a lot of people like him that exist in this world. There's just like this naive optimism that I think most adults kind of lose later in life. And it's like, it's art in the most pure form. I think it's like what we all aspire for as artists. There's no ego. It's just art for art's sake. And so, yeah, it hit me pretty hard when he passed away. And then through his organization, his Transcendental Meditation organization, they had like a group meditation online. So I did that soon after he passed away. And just like his voice was kind of looping in my head, all these kind of quotes that he would say. And it was just like a reminder of like how I kind of want to live my life. And so when I went to write the lyrics of Memori, a lot of it kind of is channeling his voice. So yeah, I'm trying to connect the dots with the David Lynch thing and all of that. But yeah, so Memori itself is inspired by David Lynch, but not in the ways that maybe you would initially think. It's not so much inspired by him as like a filmmaker or anything. It's just inspired by him as a philosopher, really. And so I very much channeled him, and like Memori is very much in homage to his life and his philosophy on art and existence and all of that. So yeah, I love David Lynch. Yeah, I feel like MTV had a pretty big impact on little children without people realizing, when it was just playing in the background. It's just like visuals you would never see otherwise as a child. I think it shaped a lot of us. Your aunt was a part of his meditation classes, like IRL meditation classes. That's really cool. Yeah, I heard about his house. Yeah. Oh, wow. You were on that meditation too. That's so cool. Oh, whoa. I love that. Yeah, it felt really surreal. I don't know. Something about that meditation like really affected me. I knew there's just so many people there that like it just felt like a very, very connective, collective moment when I was in that meditation. That's so cool that you were in it too. Naivete and optimism are wildly undervalued today. Yeah. Yeah, I think I look at the parallels of the artists that I really admire, big or small, like doesn't really matter, how many people are listening to them or like the legacy they've created or anything. I think that like what I sort of cling towards or what I cling to with other musicians is like when I sense that there's what you said, like a level of naivete and optimism. I think I'm always looking for that in the music that I listen to, because it does feel quite rare. And I think it's like, it also just shows that the artist is able to tap into their childlike selves, because that is such a trait of a pure child that hasn't been programmed by the rigid structures of the world yet. And I think when I can see that an adult is able to channel that, it means that it's like a revolutionary act to be able to still maintain that childlike wonder throughout your life. So I think like I'm always looking towards that. Even with like the record label I have, music website, I think that the artists that we try to work with, that's like an element that we're looking for in the artists that we work with. I would love to hear more about what your aunt has to say. That's really cool. Yeah. I definitely need to get back into a meditation practice. It's one thing I haven't been doing for a while. I think artists need spaces for like collective meditation experiences and stuff. There really aren't enough outlets for that. Like, yeah, you can go to like a meditation class or a yoga class, but like an artist specific one, I feel like we could really use something like that these days. Maybe I should do it. I couldn't be an instructor though. I think I'm too much of a nervous wreck myself. I would need someone else to be the instructor for it. I did do one meditation thing at Electronicon when I was at Knockdown Center on the main stage. I did start my set with a meditation, but it was a recorded meditation, but I recorded my voice doing it. So I have a bit of experience. It doesn't calm me though to hear my own voice. That's not calming for me. Yeah, I think that's great that you lean into that, that optimism in your music. I think that there's a really big fear. I think a huge reason why it might feel rare to experience that in music is because people have such a deep fear of being cheesy, of being soft, of being, I will say, vulnerable, and or in 2025 era of being cringe. That all those things artists are so afraid of. And I think when you are in the middle of trying to create something, you can't have those voices in your head, because that just limits you from your fullest expression. And sometimes you need to tap into the cheese. Sometimes you need to tap into the cringe in order to come out the other end with something new, with something honest. Like you need to like experience the full spectrum of human expression and emotion in order to create honest art. So yeah, I think that limits, it's an inhibiting thing for a lot of artists, that fear. And I've said it a million times, but that's what I love about Paul McCartney. And, I wasn't a Beatles fan until I met Chris, but I had to, because Chris is such a huge Beatles nerd, I had to listen to a lot of Paul McCartney in the car. And eventually it really started to rub off of me. And eventually I started to realize how I just started to get really inspired by him. And because I saw how prolific he was, how much of an influence he had on the entire history of music as we know it. And a lot of that I feel like has to do with the fact that there's no inhibition. There's no fear of going too cheesy. And in doing that, you can go anywhere. There's freedom. So yeah, I think artists need to be less afraid of those, those softer emotions. Yeah, there's a lot of cringe. I mean, cringe is in. That's a thing also. There's nothing to fear anymore. Cringe is in. Cringe is getting rewarded more than anything these days. But I don't know. I think there's different tiers of cringe. I think there's almost like, there's like cringe that, I don't know. There's just, I feel like we got to have better words in the English language for this stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of, because I think there's some self-aware cringe, and then there's cringe where it's like, this person has a big ego and they think they're, they think they're hot shit and whatever. And like, it's just like what they're putting out is not matching how they perceive themselves. That's a different form of cringe. But yeah, there's like the self-aware cringe. I'm into self-aware cringe. I think, there's some artists that I follow on Instagram because I saw their reels and it was just funny. But that is getting rewarded on the internet more than anything. I was just telling Chris before the stream, I was like, he was singing a song, one of those like viral cringe songs that he had stumbled across on Instagram reels. And I was like, dude, all the songs that we have been singing lately, they're all like within that category. Like, we're not singing along to like any like serious music these days. We're singing along to all of this like cringe TikTok shit. I don't know, for better or for worse, but I do think like people need levity right now, and there's humor in it. So it's, it's like listening to Weird Al or something. It's just funny, and it's like we need humor in our lives, and I think that actually like that's why it's becoming so popular, is in part because it's just funny and we need humor. And there's music can be very serious. Even for myself, my music is very serious. So I know that like maybe it's too heavy for people at times. It's too heavy for myself at times. So there's definitely like a full like ecosystem around cringe music for that reason, because it's just, we need humor. So yeah, you know Stoisy? He's one of my favorites. He sings a song, I Haven't Cummed in Several Days. Who knows that one? I fucking know all the words to that song. I sing it all the time. I'm not gonna sing it, but it's a good one. It's a fucking good one. I got really into stand-up comedy this year too. Not performing, watching stand-up comedy. I think that, yeah, it's a golden era for comedy right now too. So lots of consuming this year, lots of like absorbing, I should say, lots of absorbing new art forms for me. Stoizy, Stoizy. In one of my earlier streams, I talked about diet and eating healthy is really important. Any current things in your diet I'm excited about? To be honest, I started eating red meat again. I had like a very strict no dairy. I was pretty much like pescatarian, no dairy. That was my diet for years. And this past year I just started eating meat again. Kind of realized that I was probably under eating for most of my life. I kind of had a weird, I never had an eating disorder or anything, luckily. But I think because I grew up in sports and athletics, I did have a lot of friends that did have eating disorders. And there was always a weird relationship with food. It was kind of like something that was in the way. And so, also, like I said, I grew up in a very like vanilla household growing up. So there wasn't like a culture around, making soul food or anything. There wasn't anything like that. So like, I just had this kind of relationship with food where it was like, it's just like, let's just eat it for substance and like move on with my day. And like very like just my high productivity mindset type thing. And this past year I've been slowing down more. And I kind of recognized like this is not a healthy way to be. So I started really changing my relationship with eating and just trying to eat more and eating more meat. And that has been probably the best diet thing I've done so far. I tried keto and I felt like fucking ass. I did not feel good. I'm not saying that I think keto can be great for people. It just really depends on like what you're looking for. For me, I didn't need like a diet to lose weight. I didn't need a diet for that. I needed a diet for energy. And so I think like, yeah, that's been the biggest shift, is like really seeing food as fuel in that way. But keto, I tried that last year. I had a really like optimistic outlook on it because I have heard great things with keto, and I think it can be really exceptional for people. It can, I've heard that it's like relieved people of schizophrenia symptoms, like relieve people of like really serious mental health issues. So I do think it can be really beneficial for certain people. I think everyone should try different diets at least once just to see how it affects their bodies. But for me, I like carbs and I feel good when I eat carbs. So I brought it back. Yeah, I'd feel a lot better for it. I've just been eating a lot of hamburgers. I'm on a hamburger diet. Yep. That is my diet. Hamburgers and tacos. That's all I've been eating this year. And guacamole. Hamburgers, tacos, and guacamole. That's literally my diet. But I have a lot to say about diet stuff. I do a lot of vitamins. I think it's really important to get your blood work checked at least once a year to make sure that everything's good. Most people are extremely vitamin D deficient. Say like at least 5,000 IU vitamin D in the wintertime. That's super crucial. I do fish oil. Vitamin K is, it's really important to take vitamin K when you take vitamin D because it makes it more bioavailable in your body. So it helps your body absorb it. In the past I was doing a lot of other different things, but really just like a multivitamin on top of that. And then I would say you're pretty good. And magnesium's super, super important. Take that right before bed. It can help you sleep as well. Those are my big recommendations for supplements. But listen to your body. Listen to your body. That's the best advice you can get. There's so much information about diet, tricks and tips and all this stuff. Listen to your body. Your body is the number one expert. That's the best advice I can give. Favorite comedians. So I took my brother to a comedy show in Albany for his birthday this past year. And I had heard this guy's name here and there, and I remember thinking he was funny online, but I honestly did not remember his comedy super well. And we went to the show, and I was like, dude, this was the best comedy show I've ever been to. Jeffrey Asmuth, yeah. Jeffrey Asmuth. He's super funny. I'm into a little bit of that like shock value comedy, I would say, but like brainy shock value comedy. So he's like he hits the mark perfectly because he's like a total nerd, but then we'll say something that's just super left field and you're like, you should not say that, but that is I like how that just made everyone uncomfortable. That's kind of the comedy I like. So Jeffrey Asmuth and Jordan Jensen, I got really into her comedy early last year. I felt a kindred spirit because she's also from upstate New York and her name's Jordan and my name's Jordan. And I just felt a lot of there was a lot in common. So I got really into her this year. Those are the two that I got into the most. I should make a list though. Steak and lobster. I haven't had lobster this year, but I'm going to North Carolina, so maybe it's time. What religion do I think is most consistent with readings of NDA testimonies? I honestly, the thing about it is that I feel that there is kind of this universal truth underlying all religions that all kind of connect to that same place. So I really can't say that there's one religion. I mean, maybe Buddhism, because I feel that Buddhism is in many ways kind of secular itself. I think you can apply Buddhism to other religions in many ways. So in that sense, yeah. But I think all religions stem from an underlying truth, and it's all a means to get to the same awareness and the same knowingness. Because I think a lot of this is beyond belief. I think it's like more about experience experiencing it yourself. Yeah. All right. It's 10 p.m. I've been talking for 2 hours. That's crazy. Cool. I'm going to call it a night because I have to take my dog out. But thank you for hanging out with me and watching the music video and asking me good questions and engaging in my rambles. I'm going to keep doing this because I enjoy it and I like being able to actually interact with people. You know, I feel like I hate just making a post on Instagram and then like it's just a lonely experience. So I like doing streams because I can actually interact with people and and get feedback and get to know you guys and vice versa. So thank you. And I'm going to keep you updated on all the new music stuff. I'm going to try to keep the X mix going. So I mean, I'm going to try to keep doing it monthly. It's a lot of work. So it took me a lot of time to get this up and running last time, but now I have everything set up. So it should be easier next time around. So yeah, I'm going to keep X Mix going. I'll keep you updated on that. And everyone wish Shaq a healthy recovery because he just got surgery on his hip yesterday. So wish Shaq a healthy recovery. And we'll be back playing live sooner than you know it. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. I will talk to you hopefully in a couple weeks. See you soon. Oh, and Discord, I'll give you guys a link to Discord on my socials if you missed it. See you guys. Love you.